Hey, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. Yeah, man. I'm your host, Devon Harris. And yep, as always, we share ideas and insights that are going to challenge you and inspire you to keep on pushing and live your absolute best life, because you know we want that for you, right? And of you and from you. And if you want that from yourself as well, yeah, you're in the right place. So again, welcome to Keep On Pushing TV. Our guest today has had quite an eclectic career. She is a former model and actress, formerly a co-host of a syndicated morning radio show with ABC Radio Networks. She's an author. She has authored 9 books. Makes me feel like a slacker. Her works include the ABCs of intimacy and balancing love and life. She's an international speaker who has also graced the TEDx stage, sharing her truth on some of life's pretty challenging topics. She's certified by the American College of Sexology and calls herself an Intimalogist. And I'll have her explain that to you. They call her Dr. Kat Smith, and I am excited to be able to chat with her and welcome her to the show. So Kat, welcome to Keep On Pushing.
Thank you, Devon. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you. So talk to us, Kat. I know you're from New Orleans, one of 12 kids. I have your beat there, finally.
Yeah.
What were those early years like for you?
Well, my mom couldn't give one child any more attention than another. So, I mean, there was constantly a juggling around of kids, and also just, the feeling of trying to challenge for her attention, right? When you have so many kids, it's kind of hard to kind of pay attention to just one at any given time. Mm-hmm. But, I had my grandmother in my life as well. So she was able to fill in where my mother left off. And she imparted to me a lot of very valuable things, just, everyday values, value of money, for instance. A lot of kids are not taught the value of money. They just want that candy bar or that toy, and they don't understand the value of money, and just how to be thrifty and how to really shop and how to cook and grow things and care for nature. So she was an amazing woman. So yeah.
So is that where you think you got your sense of compassion from your grandmother?
Yes, I really do. I'll tell you something. A lot of the news right now focuses on mothers and children and all of that. And I have a challenge with the focus of, women and pregnancy and all of that, because there was such a negative thing whenever a woman got pregnant. Instead of it being a joyous occasion and people going, oh, congratulations. I always have to pause and say, okay, is this a good thing? Or is this not a good thing? Because, you don't want to walk up to somebody and they're stressed out about it. So, I still have that I walk that fine line around, pregnant women or, women with children, because I don't have any. And it's a different world for me. But, in my work, I understand that intimacy begins at infancy, and how you nurture and develop a close, intimate connection with another human being is something that I can actually bring into that focus when I'm starting to feel like, whoa, wait, this is outside of my scope. But then I can pull myself back in because, this is still creating a deep, intimate connection with a human being.
Yeah. Was that a conscious decision not to have children, or is just one of those things that happened for you?
It was tradition teaches us that this is the path a woman should take. You should want to have kids, and that's what you do. You're made for that. And I used to think that I was going to have a son. I was going to put the order in. Okay, he was going to be a boy. But as I got older and as I started working through my challenges or what I had to deal with my own growth and healing, I realized that that probably wasn't the best decision for me to be a mother. I had to make sure that I was in a space where I could nurture a child and not be overprotective or overbearing,
Right,
in certain
right.
situations.
On that note, you spoke, kind of lovingly of your grandmother and the tremendous influence that she has had on you and how she brought, perhaps some stability and some direction in your life. But we know you also had a rather challenging childhood. You were molested from age 9 to 13. How were you able, Kat, to work your way through and survive that trauma during that time?
It's funny that a child's mind doesn't, you have a sense because your intuition and just your natural human instinct tells you that something is not right, but we're taught to obey adults. So in my, following the guidelines of this person that was molesting me, I still had that instinct to say, no, this is wrong. And I told, it was my mother's husband. And I told her what was happening to me at night when she was asleep. And she never did anything. And in her recent passing, she was still with her husband all these years. So,
Why do you think
it was.
she neglected to act?
You know what? She has 12 children by 10 different men. So trying to make sure they were fed and clothed and cared for and, sheltered. I think she had that as the main concern. So in my head, I've always felt that we were sacrificed for the lifestyle, which was a very modest lifestyle. So, and it's, I don't know how her rationale played it all out for her to make that decision. But when most people hear of any kind of threat or harm to their child, it's like they make a decision. No, this is not, I'm not going to tolerate this. I got to put my children in a safer space.
Yeah.
And she neglected to do that. I can't speak for her. And to this day, I don't know. The only thing I can,
So you just mentioned that she passed recently. What was the state of your relationship at that time?
Well, we were estranged. I had a sister that passed about 5 years ago, and we were very close. She was just older than I am. And during that whole process of funeralizing her, my mom just she was a very challenging person to be around anyway. And she got even nastier in her responses, communication. And I just finally, I'll be 59. I'm 59 now. I'll be 60 next year. And I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to give myself permission to not be around you, to not take your abuse any longer. Over the years, she has done some things that I just, finally had to decide, okay, yeah, it's okay. Do you, and don't wish you any harm, but I have to, worry about my own emotional and mental health.
I speak about it all the time, that sometimes, even, family members especially, we have to find a way to love them from a distance.
Yes.
So you didn't reconcile with your mom and her husband, your molester. Did you ever confront him, and how was that? What happened? What transpired when you did?
Yes, I did confront him. I actually, after, I guess I was still in my 20s, I sought counseling. And one of the steps in the procedure for healing was to confront the abuser. And so I did. And it wasn't really an apology of any sort or making things right kind of thing from him. It was kind of still an accusation, like to blame me. Like, well, if I would have known, it would have caused you those kind of problems, and I never would have done it. And I'm going, really? That's your response? And not a sorry, not can you forgive me? Nothing. And so just understanding where they were mentally and morally, I just had to make decisions for myself. Oh, about even before I got my doctorate, during therapy, I said I will never use therapy as a crutch. I never allowed my my patients, also anyone I counseled,
Right.
no, don't use me as a crutch. If I'm not giving you the tools and information you can apply to your life to create healthy, loving, respectful, nurturing, caring relationships, then I'm not the counselor for you. I have to refer you to someone who can better assist you. And so I vowed to myself that I would never use therapy as a crutch. So I read a lot and I did a lot of things to try to change the way I viewed my, there's this thing I call love perspective. And with that, that is how we view love, sex, relationships, the opposite sex, and things of that nature. And so I said, okay, it's our life experiences, it's our culture, ethnicity, nationality, it's our gender, religion, it's family, community, it's society, it's the media, it's so many things that that mold and shape what we believe about love and interacting with another human being. So I said, I have to make my own path. I have to find my own truths, because what was true for our parents is not necessarily true for people today.
Indeed. Yeah.
So I had to find my own truth. And that is, I think, key in anyone's healing and moving forward.
Yeah, interesting that, excuse me, that you brought that up, because you're right. The way we approach love and intimacy and relationships are impacted by all of those, I'm going to call them external stimuli, right? The family you grew up in, the religion and the culture that you grew up in. But talk to me, Kat, and I think it's amazing that you're able to, for want of a better term, show your clients tough love, but it's i.e. don't use your trauma and your experiences as a crutch. And you can speak to that with congruency, because you have traveled down a very similar path as well. So young girls, they tend, when they have experienced sexual trauma early, they tend to go from, like kind of one bad relationship to the next. Is that because they don't feel worthy? Is it that they are looking for love in all the wrong places, as it were?
Yes, I think, okay, so as a young girl, as a young person, we are trying to either emulate our parents or the people around us in a relationship, and we're trying to navigate hormone changes and all of the stuff that's going on. Okay, and so we want to be included, we want to be accepted, we want to be loved, we want to have that experience of having the boyfriend or the girlfriend. So we are impulsive, first of all, in our actions, and then second of all, if you're not given examples of healthy relationships, you're going to stumble around with it. Okay. So my serial experiences with abuse, not only was I molested as a child, I was also, because I didn't give attention to the things that happened to me, I went on to, and I want to say I attracted these things, because when you don't attend to it and you don't heal it or understand it, you go out there fumbling around in life, and you can still have that energy of victimhood, and you can attract those predators that are out there looking for that weak person to attack. again. And so I was that person. I was living that life. And I ended up being date raped a couple of times. So it was like, I had to say to myself, okay, I'm the least common denominator. What kind of relationship or what kind of life do I want to live? I had to create that vision of what I wanted my life to be like, what kind of interactions I wanted with men, what kind of friends I wanted to surround myself with, the energy of the people that are around me. Because, we can fall into traps. I say we talk ourselves into all kinds of stuff because women are told to be nice, and then the next thing you know, you're in a relationship with friends or someone that is abusive. Even if it's verbal abuse or physical abuse, mental, emotional abuse, and it could be financial abuse. So, there's more than one way to be abused. So when you can identify who you are and what you're about, and then what you need from other people, that is key to you being able to navigate your own thoughts and feelings, and then know how you want to experience whatever you're experiencing with them and in their spaces.
It sounds to me like you're talking about personal responsibility. We find ourselves in situations all the time, and sure, there are things outside of our control, but people will kind of yield to what life is throwing at them instead of saying, hey, all of this stuff that's happening, the least common denominator there is me. And, chances are, if I can change me and what I want, and you use a really powerful word, vision, if I can create a vision of what I want my life to be like, then I can find myself on a different path. I'm not, first, maybe you can tell us how old you were when you kind of came to that realization or had that epiphany, revelation. And secondly, what was it do you think that allowed you to start looking at yourself in a very critical way and to be more introspective?
I want to say I was about 28 years of age, and I had experienced all this stuff, all this garbage. And it's kind of like, when you cultivate the garbage, it's going to start stinking eventually. You got to get rid of it. You got to get it out of your life. Okay. And it's like, I had to really, I had this quote that I always say that I came up with: when life is not working out, start within. So that's what I did. I started within. How do I feel about myself? What are my views about love and receiving love? It's not just giving love or asking for someone to love you or wanting someone to love you. Love is like that infinity symbol. It's like it's a continuous movement of something. If you put up walls, if you try to deceive or you try to manipulate or whatever, that energy is not going to flow to you. It's going to, sometimes, those crazy light shows where light is bouncing all off of everything. That's kind of how the energy will be around you. But if you can cultivate a self-love, a self-worth, self-confidence, and self-value, you can also open up for love to come to you, and you'll be able to give it back. So it's kind of like that loop, and it goes and it comes. And they say spiritually, when you change and you vibrate at a higher level, everything around you is going to change. That's why friends fall away. That's why jobs change. I mean, because if you're really asking for assistance from higher powers, whatever you believe in, if you're saying that I have a goal for this kind of life, I have a vision that I want to live a certain way, and you put that out in the universe and the universe starts to work on it, then if you are continuing to grow and raise your vibrational level, then you will see that people fall away, things fall away. There's shifting and moving, that because the universe is orchestrating all this goodness to come to you. But if you have all this junk in the way, it can't get to you.
Indeed.
So it's kind of
Yes.
like asking to win the lottery and you never buy a ticket. You know?
Yeah, no, I so agree with you. You know, we talk all the time about the fact that thoughts are things, and I've been reading lately about the brain-heart coherence and how, you know, first of all, our heart has an outsized function and role in our lives compared to how we normally think of it. And when we think a thought, the brain is saying to the heart, hey, go create these hormones and pump them throughout your body. And so your body now feels like this thought. And so if you're thinking of a higher vibrating thought, as you just mentioned, you find yourself in a situation that's just not working out for you. It's like all this garbage that you're collecting, as you just mentioned.
Mhm.
And you start to think about a life without the garbage. Then your brain
Yes.
creates that thought that tells your heart, hey, go pump those hormones. Let his body feel like a life without all of that garbage. So you're absolutely right there. We're going to touch on intimacy in a little bit, Kat, but how do the boyfriends and the husbands of, women who experience sexual trauma, and I'm talking now about these men who care for these women today, how do they help them to, I guess, make that transition from the trauma to intimacy?
Well, first of all, I got to say that affection is key. You know, we hear a lot about women who say he only wants to get affectionate when he wants sex. Okay, he only wants to hold me when he wants sex. Affection is a daily thing. I say no drive-by kissing, no, it's like you should hug and touch every day, because then it's kind of like NLP, you're anchoring in those touches and that affection and letting that person know that you appreciate them for more than just sex. You love touching them, you love holding them, and you just want to express, hey, walk up behind them while they're at the island cutting up vegetables or whatever, and just go behind them and just squeeze and, kiss them on the neck and just say, I love you, and just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that all, it becomes usual and normal. And then it's already set in place. But when you don't have that daily affection, it can cause you to feel uncomfortable when you do go in for to help them heal. So now that you've established this normal behavior of affection, then you can have the conversations. I would say that if you're with a woman who has been sexually assaulted, raped, harassed, or whatever, there are going to be triggers. You can try to talk to her and find out what are some triggers that might cause you to react the opposite of loving and caring and safe, feeling safe. So have those conversations. It could be the tone of voice. You got to think about if the harasser was saying certain things, or the abuser was saying certain things. There's a tone of voice. It could be just a way of walking, or just, it could be anything that can trigger a memory that was a traumatic thing for them. But there's this thing called repeat exposure. So once you don't have to have these conversations for long, because once they're able to communicate them and talk to you about them, then that all of that will subside. Because it's so true that time does heal all wounds. You can't stuff it down inside. I tried that and it kept bubbling up until I had to do something. So you have to address it. Don't try to stuff it inside, because it's always going to be there. It's like on the cellular level, it's going to eventually come out. You have to address it. So talk with people that you love and ask them, okay, what can I do to help? And they will tell you. And if they don't have an answer for you right then and there, just say, you know what, I'm here. When you're ready to talk, I'm here. And encourage them to come and sit on the sofa and just snuggle up against you, and you just watch TV or just make them feel safe, and that it's okay to talk about any and everything.
Indeed. So, Kai, tell us, how did you make that journey from the runway to the work that you're doing now?
It was easy to be someone else when during those times because I started at 17, modeling at 17. And I got out about, I want to say 31, 32. I got out of that. Then I was auditioned. I started in fashion, and then I started doing commercials and voiceovers and things of that nature. And I got auditioned for the radio show, and I didn't even know I was being auditioned. It just kind of happened, and
Yeah.
I ended up transitioning into that.
Mm. So, you describe yourself as an entomologist, not to be confused with an entomologist. So first of all, what does that mean? Who's an entomologist? And yeah, well, you just answered how did you make that transition? So talk to us about, what you do as an entomologist.
Yeah, an entomologist is an intimacy expert. And I kind of coined that phrase because I always tell people that the entomologist is a bug expert, even though I can bug the hell out of some people. I'm not good with the bugs, but
Right.
I'm an intimacy expert. And my transition from just working on myself to getting my doctorate and helping other people to heal and overcome their traumatic experiences. I felt that this was the right term, because a lot of people think intimacy and sex are the same thing, and they are so far from that's not a true statement, should I say. Intimacy, like I have in the book, ABCs of Intimacy, it is so many more things. I have what I call an intimacy wheel that I work with, and it's love, it's trust, it's care, it's nurturing, it's respect, it's passion, it's communication, it's so many more things. When a person feels like you have them, that you've got them, and I mean, you can be in the same room and you can just look at each other and almost know what each other are thinking. It's that deeper connection, because you can love someone, but you really can't stand them because they're not giving you that space to really connect deeply with them. Intimacy encourages that, like you were mentioning, those hormones, those the oxytocin and that serotonin and that dopamine that just flow through your body naturally without you having to do something different. It's like you feel like you're an addict when you're away from that person, because you're not getting those those hormones flowing as easily. So it's when you have a deep, intimate connection with someone, you have better sex, you have that desire to be more physical with them, and the relationship moves along swimmingly. It's like you don't have to work as hard, but you have to make sure you are being true to who you are and what you need from them, and be able to express what you need in a relationship, and what you need from them at any time. And if they're not giving you if they're not getting what they need from you, they need to communicate as well to you, so that you can improve how you interact with them.
So you say you don't have, when there's a high level of intimacy, you don't have to work that hard, but I assume you have to work on getting that deep level of intimacy.
Yes, you do, because like communication, it's like you're supposed to speak lovingly to each other. A lot of times we're so stressed. And of course, when you think about today with COVID and everything that's going on, and shutdown and working from home and trying to do the kids' schoolwork and just all this stuff, you can be stressed and you can get on each other's nerves, right?
Yep.
So how do you navigate that when you haven't worked on the relationship? It can kill a relationship if you don't have that understanding from each other, and that complete communication and understanding, and the patience and the desire to nurture and support and respect and all of those things. When you don't have that, those other things can chip away at the strength of the relationship. I always say that intimacy is the foundation that your house of love stands on. If you don't have all the ingredients that an intimate relationship requires, you're going to have some shifting, and that house is not going to stand solid.
Yeah. You use the word love just now, and you used it earlier as well. So if I could channel my inner Tina Turner, my question would be, what's love got to do with it? What does love have to do with intimacy?
Love is, it's a core component, because if you don't have some kind of feeling for someone, you don't want to develop a deeper intimate connection with them. You might want to have sex, but that's physical, and it lasts about 7 minutes, and then you can like escape. you know, oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Okay, all right, it's great. I'll see you later. And but if you really want to have that person in your life and grow and expand what you have more than just a one-night stand, you have to work at it. You have to have the conversations. You have to engage with them in ways that you kind of know how they think or what they think about. Or I came up with a game called Intimate Foreplay, and it's a card game that helps couples to have a conversation or a dialogue on a deeper level. It asks questions that get you, so what did you learn about love from your parents? And then that question leads to another question or another conversation. And so you get to really know them. A lot of times we talk ourselves into relationships. Oh, he's fine. That's my baby daddy and all this kind of stuff. We talk about all this stuff, but then it's like, yeah, you're in bed and he's like, what was your name again? It's kind of like it's an afterthought to get to know that person and see where the relationship is going to go. And I'm not a prude. If sex is all you want, have at it. But just know that if you're trying to develop a relationship or find someone that's going to be in your life for longer than, just a booty call, then you have to put in some work, have the conversations, spend the time, invest in the relationship. We spend more time watching, Game of Thrones and Scandal and whatever shows that are popular these days than we do with worrying about our relationship.
So I know you're talking about the fact that you need to improve communication and really listen to what the other person wants, try to meet those needs and express your needs. So a couple who is having issues with intimacy, is that where they start then?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So again, intimacy is communication. Is find out what they're passionate about. Okay, I'll explain it this way. Ask them what's their definition of affection. What's their definition of intimacy? Those are two key terms that you can investigate. And then that way by their answers, you can take and you can ask more questions. And he goes, well, am I giving you enough affection? Or do you need more affection from me? I would like you to be more affectionate, intimacy is, to me, is this intimacy. What is intimacy to you? Are you enjoying our sex life? And because that people always want to talk about the sex life, so I always kind of throw that in there. But what are you passionate about in your work, in home life? What are your goals for the family? What are your goals for us? What do you like about traveling? Where do you want to go? Who did you think you were going to be when you were 17? These questions kind of get you in the head and the mindset of the person. And as we grow and we evolve, we're changing. So those questions don't get old. It's like, 17, the answer at 17, what they want it to be. Yeah, that answer will be the same. But now that they're 27 or 37 or 47, their views on life has changed. It's changed because they've learned a lot of different things. They've experienced a lot of different things. They've been so many different titles and had so many labels. So they've changed. So having those conversations is just, because we're different people at any given time. So you can still have those conversations and really get to know the person that you're with. And, I was talking about the song Escape, and everybody calls it the pina colada song. And yeah, it's like when you're in a relationship and you don't know the person likes to, walk on the beach and pina coladas and, they're not into yoga and other stuff in the song is just, it's
that was
perfect.
the same person he was married to, right?
Yeah, So if you can be with the person for a long period of time and then not know that they have certain things, and I had that experience 7 years into my relationship, which is now about 18 years. I didn't know that my husband loved sushi. And I was going off, I had my sushi buddy that I'd have sushi with because I couldn't find anybody that liked sushi the way I did. And one day he was like, God, I really would love some sushi. And he goes, you eat sushi? And I said, yeah, I love sushi. He goes, I love sushi. And we're like, yay. So now we have a sushi date night. And it's been wonderful. But, 7 years and I didn't know. Because I was at everybody else I asked, we go, oh, I don't eat no raw fish, yuck,
Exactly.
And I'm like, man, I love it, but, so we can't fall into those traps, but we have to have the conversations.
Yeah. So you mentioned COVID-19 earlier, and we're living in this crazy time right now, and so many issues going on. But one of the things that floored me, Kat, when I heard that, and maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, but there was a significant rise in the incidence of domestic violence and sexual abuse. And, obviously, my thinking as I was thinking about us connecting today to talk was that when you have that kind of abuse at any level, quite frankly, there's a decided lack of intimacy. And perhaps, this is a back end, is not time to solve this, but how do we cultivate, I want to say, this sense of intimacy? How do we cultivate this in young men and young women as they're growing up to, I guess, reduce the chances of domestic violence and sexual trauma?
I think we really have to talk to our kids. I think we expect school to give them all the tools they need to be conscious individuals. Boys from the age of 4 and on are taught to not cultivate their emotional side. They're criticized for being weak, or they're called all kinds of names. Their feminine side is really capped off. They don't, you see men who get angry and they will punch a wall if they're feeling any emotions that they're afraid of. Most men don't know how to deal. That's why when a woman starts to cry, they're like, okay, whatever you want, give it here. Don't cry, because it's emotions that they don't understand. We don't allow boys to develop emotionally, which impedes their empathy for, what someone else is going through. Not saying that all men don't feel. What I'm saying is if men can allow to be whole and embrace their emotional selves, then they would understand the feelings of taking advantage of someone else or abusing someone else, because they understand it from a different perspective. If you've always been suppressing emotions, you don't really know. It's like wanting to be in love, but you never felt love before. Even from parents. I mean, you can still get a sense of what love is from family, sibling love and love from your parents. You know what that feels like. But in a relationship, if you have fear that person is going to leave you, and you resort to abuse to control them and or make them feel like they're not worth anything to anyone else, so you got to stay with me kind of thing, or financially abuse them, like keep them from going out and spending any money because you don't want them to look better or look good to anybody else, or just mentally tearing them down, emotionally, dragging them down and making them feel bad. And it's fear, it's manipulation. Sometimes it's narcissism. It's not knowing any different when they come out. When a person grows up in a space of abuse and neglect and just violence, it's like it's hard to break that cycle.
Right, that's all they know, and it's just handed down.
Yes. I mean, because it's generational things in my family that I watched, and that's why I say you got to go back and you got to look within and find your own truth. Because what's true for the family down the street or your aunts and uncles is not your truth. You have to investigate that and find what your truth is.
Yeah. The other thing that's dominating our world today, there's COVID, and then there is, all the protests that are happening around the country. The Black Lives Matter protests because of, as we know, the indiscriminate, I want to call it indiscriminate killing of especially unarmed Black men. A while back, I read an article where this woman, Black woman, she's married to a white guy who she totally adores and who adores her. He has her back. He has her back. She has his back. He is equally as outraged about what's going on. But in this article, this letter that she wrote, she said, "Hey, I need to go hang out with my Black friends, my Black girlfriends, because I guess the pain that she's feeling, she recognized that it is, as loving and as supportive as her husband is, it's difficult for him to truly connect with her pain." And so the question I have for you, because I know you're also in a interracial marriage, what advice do you have for people? How do they love through Black Lives Matter? How do these Black Lives Matter times, how do they keep that intimacy and continue to love?
Well, it's funny because I just did a video on this, loving through, these challenging times. And the main thing I can say is that, love has no color. And when you can find someone that is supportive and nurturing and caring and loving, and they're walking beside you in the good and the bad and whatever, you know what? Pain is pain. Love is love. We have to get past the and I mean, there is that truth to what she's saying, because you need to be able to commiserate with your girls. But what if your girls were diverse? What if they're Hispanic, they're white, they're Cuban, there's all these different Indian, Chinese. What if they're diverse? You think they don't understand the pain that you're going through? Yes, they understand the pain. You can explain more of it. Just like you want to hang with your girls and say what, how you feel. I say what I feel around my husband. I do. And sometimes he'll go, "Oh, Lord." "Oh, please, Kat, watch your mouth." It's just kind of a thing where I'm pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna, fluff it up for you. I gotta, and we're all adults here, I say what's real. I'm not gonna use fancy words to just describe that this is bull. It's not right. And we all are human beings. We all bleed, and it's like, when I go and give blood on a regular basis, are you gonna, not accept the blood on your deathbed because you got to ask, "Oh, is that Black blood or is that white blood?" Or,
yeah.
What I'm saying? It's like, no, there's a time when you have to say, am I part of the solution or part of the problem? And if you can't be with your husband and talk to him about what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and make him feel, I mean, sometimes he'll just exhale really hard. Like, oh man, she is wearing me. She is beating me up.
Mm-hmm.
And I just go, and I say, well, what was that? What did you just expel right there? You know, tell me how you're feeling. How are you receiving what I'm sharing with you? Because I want him to hear it. I want him to process it. I want him to understand it. And then I want him to feel it. Like you said, right. The heart has to be involved. And when we don't go through that process of communicating and having a dialogue, if we can't have it at home, we are going to struggle having it out there. I don't care if it is in a group of Black people, or one white person. A lot of times I feel like I'm the only Black person in the room. And sometimes he feels like he's the only white person in the room. But we understand, okay, let me help you feel more comfortable. I'm going to introduce you to some people. You have some conversations, and I'm going to go over here. And it's kind of like that. You help them to understand. And then with that understanding, they can go, and when they're having conversations with someone else who don't understand, he goes, well, my wife says it like this, and that made me understand.
Right.
And and then they become a voice for, the effort,
Yeah. So, Kat, this has been enlightening. This is not a subject that I'm certainly not an expert on. I wouldn't describe myself as such. It's not a subject that I expound on very often. And I want to suspect that vast majority of people don't discuss intimacy in the way that, and to the depth that we just finished discussing it. So I want to thank you for sharing those ideas with us. Now, if I know you're a speaker, and so if someone wanted to have you come, speak when things are all open up, or maybe virtually, how do they find you, Kat?
Oh, everything is on my website at drkatsmith.com. That's drkatsmith.com.
drkatsmith.com. And you just mentioned that you recently did a video on, I guess, interracial love during Black Lives Matter times. Is that on YouTube?
Yes. If they go to drkatsmith.com, they can click on Resilient Living TV, and that's my show. And you can see all of my videos there, and you can watch them on YouTube and connect it from there.
Awesome. So Resilience Living TV on YouTube is where you find Dr. Kat Smith, or drkatsmith.com. Resilience Living TV is such a fitting term for to describe your life, starting out in a really kind of challenging environment, and look at you rising like the phoenix, Kat. So really epitomizes this keep on pushing philosophy, pushing through your challenges, being introspective, learning how to, and figuring out how to grow and to continue to inspire others to do the same as well. So we thank you for spending time with us, sharing your experiences, yes, and your wisdom. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you click on that subscribe button and hit that bell. You'll get a notification every time we post a new video. And don't forget, share it with your friends, man. They want to be inspired as well, right? So share it. Don't keep it. And before you go on to the next video, visit my website, www.devonharris.com. Keep on pushing.